Okay, so this is the Claro meeting for April 22nd, 2020. Hi.
Hi. Okay. I think we have three issues. One is the tables overflow mobile. The other is the bulk operation redesign, and the other is the available update report redesign, or at least the MVP redesign. We could start with the tables overflow. I've been trying to install that with simple test me, and it's giving me an error. So I'm not sure if anybody has it on their local so we can see it.
I can definitely get that set up real quick. So
okay. So for the recording, the tables overflow on mobile, it's the issue. I think it's 3068696. Yeah. So initially the problem was that tables as in 7 happen right now when they have big width, they just overflow to the right.
okay, so how this works now is so that you can scroll to left and right on the table. So what has been removed on the most recent implementation is that there was a shadow on the right side of the table when it's scrollable, but now that's not available anymore. And maybe Ben can enlighten us why that was necessary, but this is how it works right now. So you can see both the heading and so the header and table scroll.
And it's most important that the header continues to scroll even when it's sticky. That was the complex part. Because in an earlier version, when the header was sticky, the header would not move with it.
Yeah, so now it's sticky and it's still scrolling.
Cool. So what's the reason to remove the shadow on the right?
So in order for the shadow to be visible, the background color of rows had to be transparent. That was in an earlier patch that I wasn't working on, and that struck me as being too opinionated. So if contrib modules required or had table rows with a different background color, that could potentially override it and change it to transparent.
Okay, so the on UX perspective, the good part of having the shadow is that you are visually giving a clue about what is actually going on. So it's closer to a real world interface where you will have something above another thing.
That makes sense. It was not clear whether that was the comment where it was added made it sound like that was not an official part of the design, but something that they chose to add. If it's desirable, I'm certain that there's a way to implement it without having to disrupt the styling of table elements. So yeah, I think just having that officially stated in some capacity, it can be brought back for sure. I had no idea if it was someone hacking something out or not.
Sorry, probably I didn't make the proper comments, and actually I was actually trying to install, and every time that I've installed today the simple dispatch with simple test me, it just broke, so I wasn't actually able to check the patch. So yeah, ideally that's the reason. I was thinking more on an after element or something like that had like
right, yeah. There's plenty of ways to do it. So
Yeah.
now that we know it's a priority, do it.
Great. It looks great. Actually, you were able to fix the header.
So Christina, can you leave a comment
Sure.
to the effect that the shadow is something that is desirable?
Yeah, we'll do that now. Well,
Okay.
after the meeting.
Great.
Cool.
I stopped sharing because
Okay.
I'm not sure if we can probably move to the next topic.
Okay. Should we talk about the bulk operations maybe?
Sure, we can. I can show that too.
Wait. It's for the recording. It's 3070558.
Okay. So this is just my local development thing, this one here. So you can ignore that. So it's first placed in the bottom of the page. And once you select, it becomes sticky to the page or to the display.
Nice.
And yeah, so we have to figure out how to make this, I don't know, it seems like on mobile, it's a bit like, because we have some very long texts here, so it's not shown here. I'm not sure if there's anything to do, anything we can do, because the button is very long too.
Probably the bottom just can go below, or probably the label can just go above.
Yeah. But yeah, we have to figure out the specifics on that. And so something that I was wondering is if we want this to be a primary button or not. I guess it's on purpose, because I assume if you have selected something here, it kind of is the primary action on the page.
Yeah, that was the reasoning behind choosing the primary one.
Okay, then it makes sense.
Okay, something else that I'm seeing is that probably the labels should be smaller. Because
this one, the 5 items selected.
Yeah, it's 16 probably.
Yeah, it seems like it is. Yeah, it doesn't have any. Yeah, so it's 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the problem that I see here is that it jumps into 2 lines, and it's not obviously on a bigger screen it won't happen, but I think I will prioritize. I will prefer to have the label above the select instead of breaking it on the left into lines.
Yeah. Yeah, we can figure out. I don't think we have really thought out the mobile yet.
So yeah, probably I would say the moment that it starts breaking.
Yeah. So there's some accessibility features that Ben implemented. So for example, after you tap through a checkboxes, the next item after that is a link, which allows you to skip to the.
Wow, that's really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's kind of, so let's say if the process that you are doing is that you go here and you let's say you select this one, and then you go here. So it's very easy for you to. But this is only visible if you use tabbing for navigating. So
That's
anyone
very nice.
using mouse shouldn't be impacted by it.
That's really cool.
And then for screen reader support, when the bulk operations become sticky, it also adds an announcement that says, prior to saying how many items are selected, it says use bulk operations are now available, and then says how many items are selected. But if it's already sticky, it'll only announce how many items are selected.
Something that is interesting is because right now it's not actually hidden. So saying that it's available, it might be incorrect, but yeah, I mean, we can probably dig into the specifics later.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about the language, so I just did something pretty quickly because the functionality was going to be the most critical part to evaluate.
Yeah. So we can discuss the specifics with the accessibility team on.
Okay. Makes sense.
But this is what we have so far on this one.
Cool. Yeah, that's a really, so implementing from the beginning already this accessibility stuff is a really good thing to do, I think.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what is needed or what is desired, but we decided to implement some of the things that would be easy for us to implement, so that then if something feels excessive, it's easy for us to just remove it later on.
I see.
Okay. Unless we have any questions, we can probably move to the next topic.
Yeah, I don't. I will. Do you need me to comment on anything on there, or it's not necessary on a design perspective? I guess once you start working on that, that will be enough.
If you want to test it and give feedback on that, that could be nice.
Okay. Well,
it seems like mobile would be the place that would benefit from some direction.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Sasha, do you have any suggestions since you've already been working on that, or?
Yeah, honestly, not really, because I focus more on like the behavior and not.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like a quick and dirty implementation, basically. So this is far ahead of what I did. So.
Okay. Great. So, what else? Okay, the next one is the available updates report. I'm gonna share the screen. Okay, so the issue is 3114910. It's to improve Claro implementation for the core compatibility details on the available updates report. Basically, this is what can be seen right now in Claro. This is what it's happening. This is what is happening right now, I think. And there was a suggestion to change some things, and there was a design proposed a while ago here, I think, not this one. Yeah, basically was actually adapting the messages design, which is black, into this. Just as the background for whoever doesn't know what's the messages design, is this one. where we have the icon here and a left bar with the color of whatever is a warning or success or whatever. And then what I've done is kind of adapting that. I've been working on several things here. Basically, the main problem that I've had is deciding or not to just keep the color in the background. On a usability perspective, it helps seeing some color because it's easier to tackle, which is a warning, which is a security update or something like that. Maybe on a design or also on a UX perspective, having so many colors is a little bit overwhelming and adds a lot of noise. And basically, I've started working on this. And basically, those are the two main ideas that I've been working on. One is the completely white one, and the other is just kind of working with the background with colors. I'm not a fan of rows or layers with colors because it just can become a color party. But yeah, if it improves the usability or the understanding of the page, let's just do that. Anyway, we should come up with a MVP and decide if we just go for now with the white layer and later on add colors, for example, or something like that, because there's already another issue to discuss, the colors for layers or rows or whatever. So does anybody has a thought on this? Well, another small detail is that instead of using the arrow here, I've just switched that to the plus icon. That's another issue that we have to discuss at some point, because for the details and some other small things, the plus icon is more understandable than an arrow, because in some systems the arrow down means that it can be opened, not that it's already opened, and it's confusing. So plus and minus are more universal icons to work with. Anyway, overall in general, does anybody has any thoughts here?
So something that I'm wondering is if there is something in between these two. Like if we could achieve what the background achieves by doing something else, without having it becoming a color party.
Maybe just like the first line, the header could be colored. Yes.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, that already looks better.
Okay.
Because it adds some of the weight to the row, but it doesn't really add as much as making the full row having the background.
Okay.
Yes. I also think we need to change the yellow, because I don't think it has enough contrast, does it?
If we have something else that can identify this as a warning.
I've made the icon much bigger than the one that we have here.
But is the color contrast enough?
But the color contrast of this yellow,
I haven't gone that far.
Orange yellow might be not sufficient, right?
Yeah.
Right.
At least from my eye, it it's too weak, but
Yeah, it's possible.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I
I
like
can
it
work
also
on that.
better if we just use basically like the header with a slight background color, and then the rest is white.
Great.
Also,
That's
like
great
the,
to. Sorry,
the
go ahead.
border on the left, I did exactly the same for Chin with the border on the left, which helps to indicate, like, you know.
You mean doing this?
Yes, just like the border you used on the left in general.
I'm not sure what you mean, that this border is helping, or that I should
Yes.
just do that the other.
No. I think it's helping, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Can you show the first variation still? The one that doesn't have any of the background.
Sure. Okay. Live design.
Because it does feel like it's, yeah, I mean, if you have the 3 element or 4 elements now with orange, it does feel like it's pretty clear if you have orange or red or something else, or
Yeah,
green.
and also now that I see it, if you just put several of them one to another, next to another, it helps to identify the title.
Yes.
Great.
Well, it might, but not for all users because of the contrast again,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah. Okay. That was really productive. Thank you for all the suggestions. We'll work on that and update that later on the issue. Great. So probably this week I will have both the prefix and suffix, the inline variations, and also this one. The other that we had the other week, I haven't had time to work on, which is the dark version. But yeah, let's see if I'm able to do that for next week. So that's all that I have. Not sure if anybody else have something else.
So we had the one topic around the SVGs, which Ben proposed.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yep.
So Ben, do you want to brief us on that?
Oh, sure. Let me find the issue number. Okay, for the sake of the recording, the issue number is 3083657, and this is a issue to determine an overall SVG usage strategy, and there's been several issues that have been blocked in some way or another based on SVG, and in researching this, I also discovered this conversation has occurred many times over the years. And I would say the big difference now compared to the other SVG issues is that Claro uses build tools, so that may change things from conclusions that were made in the past. Basically, some of the issues that we're looking at is if anything that's set as a background image in high contrast mode is not visible. So we need to implement into our strategy a way to support high contrast. And then there's performance considerations and reuse and auditability considerations. So for example, Wim was strongly urging us to not use inline SVGs, and it is possible with the build tool to inline them in the compiled files. In a toolbar issue, they were experimenting with sprite maps and discovered that in Firefox and IE11, the primary sprite SVG is requested multiple times. It's not a single request and then sprite's taken. So that's I think 5-6% of browsers get that massive performance hit. And so I'm tempted to conclude that we should essentially continue using background images, de-inline anything that's inlined in favor of a build tool. I'm also concerned I might be rushing to that conclusion simply because the amount to keep track of in this issue is kind of fatiguing, and so it's tempting to just come up with a firm decision. So I suppose I just wanted to pose to the other people at the meeting if anybody had particularly strong opinions or thoughts regarding how to work with SVGs, and anything that may be able to, I guess, points of consideration that may have been missed, or strong opinions about how to go about it.
So just to refresh a little bit, what is the problem with the inline SVGs?
So for that, the concerns that Wim posed with inline was that they're not inherently bad if they're achieved via a build tool, but having them inline and not available in any other capacity makes auditing difficult. It's not clear whether they have been optimized or not.
I see.
And we could potentially have an asset that could be reused somewhere else, and it's just not clear because.
Oh, okay.
I did test a post CSS build tool that will take any URL requests to SVG and convert it to inline, and that seems to work well. It does add. I mean, there's obviously fewer HTTP requests, but it does add some size to the CSS files.
Sure. So animation has been considered here at some point, because probably in the future maybe we end up just animating some stuff on the UI. Like, let's say, for example, the details that we were seeing, for example, just animating the plus to minus, or for example, the hamburger icon being converted into a cross or something like that. The first things that come to my mind. I mean, these things might have some issues, some impact on the conclusions also.
So yeah, my thought for, I suppose, for high contrast mode, which couldn't support the use of background image, for example, was to use a content URL, but anytime that is done, pretty much anything that deviates from what the understood policy is, just accompany it with a comment explaining why. And so in the case of animation, I feel like that could be done as well.
Okay.
And just make it very clear in the comment, we're implementing SVG differently in order to animate it, and that means it'll pass review.
Okay, so what I'm seeing probably is more like a policy than exact way of doing everything, because probably you have to adapt depending on the situation. Does this make sense?
That was what I was going to propose. I imagine
Okay.
there will be other uses that come up, but having a policy that covers the majority of the use cases can make things predictable and hopefully improve performance and maintainability.
So the approach for using icon fonts is kind of discarded completely so far, or?
I've seen that shot down pretty convincingly in multiple issues. Let's see. The biggest rationale that stood out was the sheer difficulty of having contrib modules support icon fonts as well. And there's a strong desire for contrib modules to continue being able to leverage the toolbar, including icons. And there's a big accessibility concern too, as it's actually quite common for users of assistive technology to override existing fonts in favor of ones that are easier to interpret. And in that case, since things aren't standardized, it could very easily make relevant information disappear.
Okay. Well, personally, having a more like a suggestion on how to use instead of forcing people on how to use makes a lot of sense and a good conclusion for this issue. Not sure what other people thought. What are other people's thoughts? Probably Laurie is the one that should have the last call.
Yeah, I'll have to catch up on the issue itself to make sure that all of the points that we discussed earlier were covered. But as far as I was looking at it, it's the conclusion that you were making seems like it was taking into account at least most of the points that I could recall out of my memory.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, I can definitely review the issue and leave a comment on that one.
Okay, and I have not documented in the issue that proposal yet, because the first step was to run it by a couple of human beings first to make sure it was seen. So yeah, I don't know if it's easier for me to provide that suggestion before or after you review it, Larry. Just let me know.
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I think you were pretty close to getting to that point already on the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So whichever you prefer, I think it's fine if you post a comment saying that that's the conclusion that you've made.
Okay.
And then I can comment on that after that.
Great. Sounds good.
Okay. I have to jump to another call, but feel free to continue. Or do you have any other issue?
I think that was all that was brought up. Sasha or Gabor, do you have any additional topics that we should be discussing?
No, not at this time, no. This is great.
Okay.
Was muted. No.
Then thank you all for joining. Again, it's been super productive this week.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, super.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.